Good morning, everyone. This is the Insignificant Stoic here. This video is part of my The Channel playlist. And in this video, I would like to discuss two interrelated things. The first is my approach to Stoic literature, and the second is my philosophy behind the channel and a part of its direction. So, to begin with, I'd like to just read a quotation from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. This comes from book 1, where he's thanking everybody for what they taught him or did for him. It's chapter 7 about Rusticus, and here he's thanking Rusticus for teaching him to read attentively and not to be satisfied with just the gist of it. Well, that pretty much sums up my approach to Stoic reading, actually. Like the rest of you, the thing that immediately caught my eye about Stoicism is its ethics. They're pretty sturdy and they're pretty helpful. They're quite useful. It's what became an impetus for the development of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a reasonably successful therapeutic therapy. It wouldn't be that if it didn't have some weight behind it, if it didn't have some meaning or relevance to us. So for me, like you, I'm interested in the ethics. But to me, not to just read the gist of the thing, not to just be satisfied with 1/3, as we found out, 1/3 of the philosophy of Stoicism. Remember, there's also logic and physics. I want to read more deeply and understand really what is the nuts and bolts, what is the system, what is everything behind what Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius are saying. What are they actually talking about? And in order to get a full picture, you have to understand and study the other parts of the philosophy. So that's how I read Stoicism. I don't just read Stoicism's ethics and aphorisms and whatnot. I actually delve into the philosophy itself. I read attentively and not just try to get the gist of the thing. Now, what does that have to do with the channel? Well, if I look around at YouTube and I see the various Stoic channels, or you go to the bookstore or Amazon, whatever you do these days, and you look around at Stoicism, it's mostly the ethics. It's what the three main and majority of primary literature of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius write about on the surface. And there's these things that YouTube channels, make videos about, and that's fine. I mean, I applaud that. Thank heavens they're doing that. There's no way I could produce a video of the same quality that would have the same impact that some of these younger guys who understand technology can do with regard to the ethics or any part of Stoicism. So I know my limitations, like Cato, the bald guy, but I also know my strengths. Since the logic, which Zeno puts first, by the way, and then cosmology, and at the very end, like the tail of the dog, puts ethics, which happens to be the most popular thing. It wasn't the emphasis for Zeno. Zeno was the logic, and then the cosmology. I think the logic and the cosmology, the 2/3 of the philosophy, needs to be addressed because those 2/3 are going to inform what's actually happening in the ethics. And I don't see many people doing it. By nature, it is going to be a more academic approach to the philosophy. It needs to be, because in order to understand those 2/3, and this might be why it's not as popular, one has to have a certain vocabulary and be familiar with philosophy in general. And those are things that are part of my interest. I'm a historian. My degree is, my undergraduate degree anyway, is in history, and I've also studied theology. It's important to understand in history the ideas that move through. I've shown in one of my videos about prologue videos of Zeno of Citium that Stoicism itself didn't exist in a vacuum, and it didn't come out of a vacuum. Part of the reason why Stoicism exists is because Zeno, in his modesty, was reacting against the extremeness of cynicism. So Stoicism is a result of things that came before it, and also it during its existence interacted with things around it, and things around it interacted with it. So, from a historical perspective, to understand all three parts of Stoicism is extremely important because, as we'll see eventually, it had a really important part to play in Western culture, in the Roman Empire, and even since it was in the zeitgeist of the Roman Empire, Roman citizens, whether they knew it or not, they were called it Stoicism or not, it actually had an interaction with Christian theology. And so, and beyond all that too, by the way, historically. So it's a significant philosophy to understand, not just but in its parts, but in its whole. So that's kind of my approach to Stoicism, Stoic reading. I read not to just get the gist, but have a full understanding of how everything works. And this approach is sort of directing where this channel goes. The more one learns about Stoicism and its the context in which it existed, the more one sees its place historically and in throughout the Western civilization. That's kind of where, in one part, this channel is going to go. It's going to look at the history of Stoicism, how it related and what it gave to the culture, and how it was influenced by it. All because, as Marcus Aurelius says, to read attentively, not just get the gist of the thing. So I hope that helps with some people who kind of want to know what I'm doing here, maybe why some of what I'm talking about is a little dry, why sometimes I'm called the sleepy Stoic. I don't mind that, by the way. So it should give you some idea of where we're going. If that's the kind of thing you like, hang on, grow with it. You know, you'll see changes in the coming months. This has only been around a couple weeks. And if you do watch, if you do subscribe, if you do like, if you do leave a comment, I really appreciate it. Very glad to have you here along for the ride. And if you have any suggestions, recommendations, either how to make the channel better, if I can do it, I will. If you would like to hear me talk about a part of Stoicism and its relationship with the world around it, pass it on to me. Leave it in a comment. And if I am capable of addressing it, I will. If I can't do it right now, I'll tell you. And but eventually, I will get to that for you. So, hey, have a good day.